While doing some research on Menno Simon and Martin Luther, I came upon this very interesting quote from Martin Luther. I'm going to show it here on screen. This is mennosimons.net. It says here, in a book, Luther's tract, A Faithful Admonition, published in January of 1522. It says a bunch of things here, and then it says, Luther says further, therefore look upon the government, as long as they do not undertake anything and do not give a command, you should keep quiet with hand, mouth, and heart, and should not concern yourself about it. If you can persuade the government to proceed and give a command, you may do so. If the government be not willing, neither should you be. But if you proceed, you are in the wrong and are far worse than the other party, the Romanists. Okay, so when they were talking in the book of Acts, and the government back then was saying you're not supposed to be preaching or teaching in this name, by whose authority do you have, and they said we ought to obey God rather than men. I guess they were wrong for that, according to Martin Luther. See, Martin Luther and John Calvin and a lot of these guys, they were setting up state churches. They weren't trying to get rid of the whole political religious organization of the Vatican. They were trying to make their own branches of it. And really, I think that those guys, you look into the thing and you have to wonder, are these guys just controlled opposition? Were they steam valves for the problems that the Vatican was having, where they could just, okay, well, we'll let people leave the Roman Catholic system and go over and become Lutheran or, under Calvin's system there, and they'll form their own little state churches that we can eventually bring back under our own authority, which is happening today. I tend to believe that way, that they were actually, working with the Vatican, not so much against the Vatican, because they really haven't created anything that much different than the Vatican itself. But just another little article here that I had a brother send me a week or so ago, I guess it was. I'll show this here as well. DHS, FEMA, and the EPA have taken over your church. This is Dave Hodges, The Common Sense Show. And I don't know, I can't endorse everything that the guy says or whatever. It's just an interesting article that he has here. But it goes down through here. I'm not going to read this whole article. I can provide the link for it. But it says, Maryland County pushes churches to preach environmentalism in exchange for tax credits. According to the Washington Post, churches in Prince George County, Maryland, you gotta love that, Maryland, Maryland County, are being offered tax breaks for incorporating environmentalism into their sermons. Subsequently, 30 pastors have started preaching green ministries to avoid extra taxes. The number of participating pastors is certain to grow as the symbolic globe of the New World Order is replacing the traditional cross. And, you just go over it and over it and over it and try to prove it to people, and they don't want to see it, that 501c3 Babel buildings are already submitting to the government. They have since the 1960s. They are controlled. Just as simple as that. That's why I avoid those places like a plague. So, again, it's interesting that this whole movement actually goes way, way, way back to Catholicism since day one. They've been mixing political and religion. And you have state churches. So what is really the root and foundation of 501c3? It's Roman Catholicism. Martin Luther was a Catholic priest, Catholic monk. Then he became a priest, and he was in all these different, Augustinians and things like this. And, he came out with his own church. It's just another form of Roman Catholicism. That's all it is. And these guys have the same philosophy. You should submit yourself to the state. And who does the state submit themselves to? The church. So, if you're still not convinced yet about this whole 501c3 thing, I don't know what to tell you.